Good evening and welcome to Fishhawk Live and the Great Lakes Fishing Podcast. Tonight we're talking Lake Huron, and it's a lake that doesn't get a lot of love, but happy to give it some love tonight and happy to be talking some Lake Huron fishing with Captain Ryan Sharpe from Grand Bend Fishing Charters out of Grand Bend, Ontario. Ryan, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
Ryan, first off, tell us a little bit about yourself and your charter.
Well, I've been fishing my entire life on Lake Huron. Started doing the trolling for salmon, trout, and walleye in 2004. So done that for a few years now, and just started chartering in 2016. So still fairly new to that, but we're building a good business and a lot of clients, a lot of repeat clients already, and some great fishing all season long that a lot of people don't realize we have out here.
Well, tell us a little bit about your boat first. That's, I think, the thing that a lot of people like to hear about is what kind of boat you're running.
Sure. So we're running Camping Explorer. It's 23 foot, built in Canada, in British Columbia. Very, very stable platform for fishing, and nice and deep V cuddy in front. Got a big swim platform at the back that we have the motors on. We're running 250 horsepower Evinrude E-Tech G2, which they don't make anymore due to COVID. But it's a great motor, and we've got a kicker motor as well, and full helm controls for both motors, and all Raymarine equipment. We got Doppler radar, Axiom units, and of course autopilot.
All right, Ryan, you said you've been fishing the lake for about 17 years, been out there trolling. How have things progressed in that 17 years? What's it like? What was it like then to now?
Well, when we first started, there was a big crash in the salmon. The bait fish, the alewife, were no more. Fish we were catching were really small, really small salmon. They were very skinny. Still fun. We loved it. If had we fished when they were all 20, 30 pounders, we might have left like a lot of the other people. But no, we kept at it, and consistently since then it's improved. And it's really changed from what it was. It was almost all salmon and trout, and now we're getting quite a few walleye, which it's nice to see. The variety we catch is pretty amazing, especially this time of year, mid-July to September. It's a pretty awesome fishery.
Hey, you said a lot of people left the fishery, went other places, and where you are on Lake Huron, you're kind of in that southern corner. You're fairly close to Lake Ontario, fairly close to Lake Erie. What is it about Lake Huron? What's special about Lake Huron that keeps you there and keeps you wanting to fish that fishery?
So my parents actually bought a cottage up here when I was 1 year old. So I have so many memories. All the fishing off the pier, and there's a place called the Pinery, which is a river, and we take the canoe through there, and pike and bass and all that kind of stuff. So it's just nice to be here. It's really our home, and we pretty much live here all summer. So. It's just nice to fish close to home, and also the variety. Like, you can't get that anywhere else that I know of, and also be able to eat the fish in nice clean water. I mean, Lake Ontario and even Erie, like some of the I don't want to offend the Lake Erie guys, but some of the bigger walleye in Erie, they get muddy tasting, and then you try Lake Huron walleye, and there's no going back out of that cold, clear water.
We're starting to get a couple questions on Facebook, and guys on YouTube too. If you got questions, go ahead and drop them in there. And I've heard you talk about this before, so I don't want you to be offended by the question, but because I know that you've got a really good answer for it. But Larry Dyshaw wants to know why the smaller boat. Is it to chase the bite? So maybe talk a little bit about that and what's behind that choice with the boat that you guys have.
So the big issue we have here is we have to run far to hit deep water. So, often like this time of year, for example, we're running, 12, 15 miles, even 18 miles offshore for a trip. So that big boats that eats up a lot of fuel, whereas Lake Ontario, or even, if we fished up north, an hour and a half north of Kincardine, we can actually get out to deep water quick. And then it'd be nice to have a bigger boat. But, the smaller groups size is nice. We take up to 3 people. And, some really enjoy that because they get more time on the rod. You're not waiting for, 6, 7, 8 people before you get your turn to fight a fish again. So, we do have, I've got big dreams for the future, but for now, I'm really happy with what we've got, and we're doing well out there. It's working great.
Yeah, so tell us a little bit more about the structure in that area. We talked a little bit before we came on the air about what it's like, but you were telling me that it's a real gradual slide down, and tell us a little bit more about what it's like fishing right out of Grand Bend there.
Well, I'll start off in the spring. We fish more. We launch at Grand Bend, and we make the run to Kettle Point. There's a big reef there that goes out for miles. There's Kettle Point and Stony Point Reef. And they're great places to fish. The structure is amazing. You really got to watch your equipment, though. Make sure you're not, you'll tag bottom really easily on that reef, and it can be pretty dangerous. But the fishing is just phenomenal. It's the first area to heat up. The problem that happens is the water warms up quick over there. So typically by early to mid-June, we start moving north and trying to get into that colder water. And once we do that, it kind of turns to gravel, and we keep going later on in the summer. It's all about depth, trying to find that thermocline. And when we get out there, it's almost entirely sand. There's very little structure. And really, it's all about finding that temperature to find the bait fish. And if you find the bait fish, you're going to find the big fish.
So tell us a little bit about that. The temperatures you're looking for. You're out there hunting for that right water temperature. What are you looking for this time of year?
So this time of year, we're looking for any temperature break we can. So what's happened, the past couple of weeks, it's been crazy. We've actually had 77 degrees on the surface, and down below on the bottom, it's been 69. So not a huge break at all. And the weird thing was the bait was packed in there so thick. We were pulling everything out of there. We were pulling walleye. We got an Atlantic salmon. We got a coho salmon. We got a king salmon. Like we were basically fishing bathwater, and it was insane. But since then, we've had a big north blow. So currently, cold water is pushed in. So down 50 feet as of this morning, we hit about 65 degree water, dropped it down to 65 feet, and we were in 50 degree water. So, there's a really good thermocline set up there. So we're trying to get our lines through it. I always like to have some below, and I always like to have some above, because I find those bait schools, when you find them on your sonar as well, if you have your lure right in the bait school, it's not as likely to get hit. You want to have it either above or below. Fish are looking for that easy target, and they want to smack it. So right now it's all about having your lines all over the place. Focus most around that thermocline, but still, we're allowed 2 lines per person out here. So we're limited to 10 lines. So I try to have lines from 25 feet now all the way to pretty close to the bottom.
All right, that's good. It's interesting that you bring that up right now. We got a question from YouTube. Dan Crane wants to know, when you're setting up for full charter, how do you focus on setting your rods out for maximum efficiency? Does it change throughout the year, and how you set things up?
That's a great question. So, I'll tell you what we did today. So we ran 4 boards. I really like the Church Tackle TX44s. They're nice and big, and they pull that lead core well, and even in the waves. So we ran 4 boards. We ran a 5-color lead, 10-color lead, 8-color lead core, and 300-foot copper. Then we ran 2 wire divers and 3 riggers. So the 2 riggers, we run actually a Dan Keating trick, running light line 12-pound test off the riggers, and we have our center rigger, the shoot rigger. We put a flasher on it, and either spoon or a meat rig, just to change things up and get a chance at a big trout or big salmon down the cold water.
All right, you guys are definitely a mixed bag fishery, a mixed bag area. But tell us about how the season progresses and kind of how things start. If you can go back to the beginning of the season in April and kind of run us through and kind of how that all progresses and what your bags look like and how that changes throughout the year.
Sure. So we typically run the kettle point there where we want to get in that structure. Like we're looking for structure, temperature, and bait fish. And if you can find 2 of those 3, you're going to do well. The problem with the spring is the rain, the mud and all that. So it can be really muddy water. So we're trying to find, we're working the mud lines. Sometimes, we're fishing the sandbar. We can be in 6 feet of water trolling for coho. Other years it's too muddy. You can't do that. You got to go out, and we're out 7-8 miles off the tip of Kettle Point. So it really depends, but in the spring we're fishing high, so we're flatlining bomber lawn A's, we're running riggers down 4 or 5 feet. We're running more planer boards than we are our riggers, but mostly coho in the spring. We can get into the trout. We typically try not to target the lake trout unless we have to. Because charters, it's a lot of times all about the numbers, but it really depends on the clients and what they want to do. But of course, kings are our main target. That's what we really want. But they have been difficult. If you get a king on a charter, you're lucky in Lake Huron, because they're getting hard to come by.
As we were talking before we went on here, the kings are tough to get, but was there something that you go back a few years, it wasn't something that people are going after them, but it's become a staple of your bag? Tell us a little bit about fishing in your neck.
That you cut out there, Chris, but I heard I think you said I think you asked why I think the kings have declined. Is that?
No, I was just saying the kings have kind of declined, but now kind of one of the staples of your bag and what you guys are really bringing home these days is the walleye. And tell us a little bit about that walleye fishing in your area.
So the walleye, we almost get no walleye in May, maybe 1 or 2, and June is sort of when they start. So we might get the odd one in June, but then come July, they really start. And it's not uncommon anymore to get 3-man limits of walleye, and limits here are with the sport license is 6 each. So it's we're not nearly what Lake Erie is for numbers and catching walleye quickly, but we work at it. We can get decent numbers and get people a good feed of walleye to take home.
If you've got questions for Captain Ryan, go ahead and drop them in the comments and we'll get them to Captain Ryan. Here's one. We'll bring this one up. This is from Shelly on Facebook. What hazards are out there near Grand Bend that you worry about with your Fishhawk probe?
Well, we've got a ton of commercial fishing, so that's a huge issue for us. And being a father and son team, having 2 of us, it's really important, to keep an eye out for these things. So having the 2 of us really helps with that. Last week, we had to have one guy on the wheel almost the entire time just to be a lookout, because we had 3 fish tugs dropping nets and circling us all the way out. And out here, they're only marked, the ones that are on the bottom at least, are only marked with a single flag. So it's a stick with either a black or orange flag, and you don't know where the other end is. So it's really, it's not a good feeling when you get up in them and there's a whole field of nets and you're trying to navigate through it. And of course, you don't want to lose that Fishhawk probe. It's not cheap, and it's an important tool. So we're very cautious about that. We always carry a knife nearby just in case we have to, start cutting. But that's one of the biggest things. And as far as the structure this time of year, there's so much sand out there now, not a lot of rocks. We're still gonna fish, or we'll fish close to the bottom, but we won't get too close. I don't want to risk it, especially with the probe. So I won't put that one within probably 10, 20 feet of the bottom, just for safety. But for us, that's the biggest issue, is those nets.
You talked about quite a bit of commercial operations. How about other charters and just recreational folks out there fishing? What is the pressure like in that area?
It's funny because in the spring we get there's probably 7 or 8 charters that come, and most of them move to Lake Erie, so they're only here May mostly, and a little bit of June, and they take off, and then um, we're pretty much left. Like today, there was 2 other boats out there, and that's it. A weekend you might get 5 or 6 at the most, but as far as charters, there's only 4 in the area, so it's there's not much pressure for that. The commercial fishing, there's a lot of pressure, but as far as the charters go and the sport guys, a lot of guys don't want to make those big runs, or they don't have the boat for it. You really got to pick your days, and we're very careful when we make the call for the weather, because it can get nasty out there pretty quick, and we want to keep everybody safe and give everybody a good time.
All right, here's a question on one of my favorite topics. This one's from Paul on Facebook. He'd like to know, what's your recommended method of cooking fish in general, salmon in particular?
Well, I love to cook fish. I do a lot of cooking. My favorite way is really simple. There's a spice that's made by Clubhouse. I don't know if you have any of that in the States over there, but it's a maple bacon flavor. So all we do is we put olive oil on the salmon. We sprinkle that maple bacon on it. We put it in a 425-degree oven, and about 20 minutes or so, or just when it's just almost cooked, you take it out, and it's so good, and it's simple. I mean, the fish is nice and fresh and good tasting. So sometimes the less you do to it, the better it is. And for walleye, you can't beat beer batter for walleye and deep fried stuff. So I like to eat my fish. We fish quite a bit in the summer.
All right, here's Sean from Facebook, just wants to say hello. Hello, Captain Ryan. I always enjoy our charters. Can't wait for our next one from Sean.
Thanks, Sean. Yeah, thanks for watching.
So you brought up something a little while ago about fishing with your dad. Tell us about that and what that's like, and kind of what his role and your role is on the boat.
Sure. Well, I definitely wouldn't be where I am today with this without my dad. I mean, I never would have got into fishing probably. I might have, but I mean, it would be totally different. With the trolling, you really need 2 people. And, either unless you have a good friend you can go with all the time, it's tough. So, I mean, because we basically learned this type of fishing together, how we got into it, my dad booked a charter. I think I was only 7, 8 years old, but it was Dwindle's Dream with Captain Rick and his son, Chris Dwinell. They're out of Kincardine, and they were great. They turned us right on to the fishing, and, we just loved it. And my brother and mom actually came, and they both got seasick and hated it, but but we thought it was the best thing going. And we said we gotta try it out here, and it took us a while to get on. Probably took a season almost before we actually started catching anything. And we had a lot of learning to do, and we booked a few charters. It's a great way to learn, is go out with somebody that knows. Some people, you think, I don't want to pay for that, I'll figure it out. But you save a lot of money going with someone who knows the area. And a lot of the charters, at least the captains that I know, the professional ones, that they love to teach people. And it's a great learning experience. The more boats you get on, the more tips and techniques you'll pick up. So highly recommend that if you're newer to fishing and you want to learn a particular area. That's definitely the way to go.
All right, we got a question coming in from YouTube. This is Gordon. He said he started to fish Lake Huron out of Kincardine in 1982. He says the bait was so thick it used to make the downriggers bounce. What's the bait situation these days?
Well, we actually fished Kincardine a couple weeks ago. We fished the Chantry Derby. And the funny thing was, out there, we marked hardly any bait. The fish we caught, their stomachs were nearly empty. But back home here in Grand Bend, the bait has been the best I've seen. They're loaded with smelt. We had some fish loaded with baby perch, but smelt's been the biggest bait. We're marking smelt like crazy. And some of the lake trout, they're full of gobies as well. But it's the smelt that's really what's in the salmon and the walleye as well. So things are looking positive that way, but hardly any alewife. We don't get that very often anymore.
All right, so you're seeing melt in the bellies, and you talk about using meat rigs. What are you using for meat in your meat rigs?
So actually, we started using it's called the Big One cut bait. So it's an alewife strip actually from Lake Ontario, and it's not cheap, but it's so easy because it's preserved. So they say it doesn't require refrigeration, so it's just easier for us to put on it, and we don't run a ton of it. I like to have it down there just to get some stink in the water and turn up the big fish. And it doesn't go off that often for us, but when it does, it's usually Moby Dick, and we love it.
All right, here's one from YouTube again. High Point Outdoors. As the day moves along, do you change the location of baits in the temperature column?
Yeah, definitely. So I mentioned we use the Fishhawk to find our temperature, but you have to, through experience. We've learned, like a lot of people know that the bait, tends to move in low light conditions in the morning and in the evening, and if the bait's in there, the fish will come out of temperature, and we've seen that they come out of their temp. It's just like a buffet. If there's a snowstorm, you might not want to go, but if there's all that food there, and it gets you going, and you want to eat, and that's just what the fish do. They come in out of their comfort zone, and they want to have a feed. And if you're in there, if you hit that, you're going to get them. And also too, as that light comes up, it pushes the fish down. So we've definitely those bright sunny days we're fishing deeper, sometimes a little colder water. So the fish hawk's a great tool. You need it, but you also have to figure out and learn through experience what to look for.
But you're typically, just because of where you're fishing and what kind of depths you're fishing, and just this mixed bag effect, you're typically kind of covering the entire water column when you're out there, right?
Pretty well. Like even this time of year, believe it or not, we can get rainbows on a flat line because a lot of times first thing in the morning, they'll be up feeding on emerald shiners. They'll be up there and be full of minnows, and even bugs too on the surface. So it's with the 10 lines, we can cover quite a bit. And it depends what the clients really want. Some guys want walleye. We'll fish up in the warmer water, but it's it all depends, because some days it depends what the wind does. If the colder water comes in, we'll nail the salmon, and the next day clients want salmon, and we can only get rainbows. So it really changes. It changes quite a bit. Like that's really what keeps the fish in there, is just the different currents, and it spreads them out, either packs them close together, tighten a school with the bait, or they're all spread out, and it's all about covering water, and covering water in just about every depth. And that's what you got to do. Just like when you're fishing, sometimes it's the downriggers that do all the damage. Other days it's the boards, and other days the dipsies, and other days everything's going. So you really got to cover it all. And when it's just my dad and I fishing ourselves, we'll be running we're allowed 2 lines each, so 4 lines total. So we're going to run 2 downriggers and 1 dipsy and 1 board, just to have everything covered, and then adjust from there as needed. So, and the other neat thing too is our new downriggers we got from Trax Tech. They have a jig mode, so we've been trying to jig for lake trout near the bottom, and that's actually been producing really well. So we're still playing around with it, and so far it's producing, it's helping, especially on the tougher days.
Yeah, I saw actually a video that you did on Instagram talking about those downriggers. What made you go with those Trax Tech downriggers?
So it was really interesting. We actually got a call from Chad and Chad and Ryan. They're the new owners of, or they founded Boat and Tackle, boatandtackle.ca. So they're a Canadian distributor now for Trax Tech, Church Tackle, and Fishhawk. So they called us up, and it was during COVID, so we weren't allowed to charter at all in May and June, and said, can we come out and test some products and do some filming? And we looked into that, and according to laws, we were able to do it. So we got them out, and we had a great time. They're great guys, and they run a great business. And the big thing for us being in Canada is purchasing that stuff. Like, we had Trax Tech products to begin with. We didn't have the downriggers. The shipping was crazy and duty. But from these guys, it's all in Canada. So that really, really helps us out a lot. And we can get parts quick, especially for those church boards. If we need replacements or something, they've got them. So it's great to have someone close by in Canada that we can get that stuff, because they're great products and important to have.
Yeah, you're talking about the challenges of getting products, and if there's anybody out there that's been trying to get a Fishhawk X4 or X4D in the last 4 months, they know it's been pretty challenging too. We're having a hard time getting the components that we need to build the product, so we're really behind and trying to get them out to our dealers so at least they can sell what we have. But what I wanted to ask you about, in Ontario has been a different story than the United States this year. You guys were pretty well shut down into the midsummer. Tell us a little bit about COVID and how that's been a challenge for the charter guys on the Ontario side in this year, 2021.
Yeah, it's been really tough for everybody. May and June, we were totally shut down. Weren't allowed to take any clients. We could fish ourselves. We're allowed to go out, to fish for food, but that was just about it. Same household. So we tried to get out still as much as we could, and we had I purchased some new electronics. We were learning the radar and all that stuff. So it was good to have that time to do that and get a little fun fishing in. But yeah, it's hard to cancel charters, but we had to do it, and everybody else was in the same boat, really, and that's all we could do. So we were patiently waiting, and all of a sudden they said we were open. It was time to go, so we started, and just about everybody we canceled rebooked, so we were actually full by early July for the season. So I mean, that's been great. In a way, COVID's helped us that way. People are so bored, they want to get out and do something, and we typically do get quite a few Americans, but with the border being closed, we couldn't do that. So we're getting quite a few locals, which is good too, and it brought us closer with some of the other local businesses. We're trying to work together and recover from it and have a great season. And so far we have, and we're really happy about it.
Let's dive into that a little bit. You said you did some fun fishing with your dad.
Yeah.
The two of you, this is the question I ask pretty much everybody. But with the two of you go out, you got 4 lines. You said you run 2 riggers, 1 diver, and 1 long line, or 1 on the planer boards.
Yeah.
What's on the business end there? So if I'm going to tell you, you can go out tomorrow, but it's just you and your dad. You've got 4 lines. How are you going to set all those up to go fishing?
Yeah. So based on what's going on right now, I'd have 1 downrigger down right near the bottom. So I put a flasher on it, and I'd actually put a spoon, because that seems to be what's going better. Meat's been a little slow the last few trips. The other downrigger, I'd set right in that thermocline, assuming it's still where it was today. I'd put that down 60 feet, and I put a spoon on that as well. And I'd run a 10-color lead core, because that's working great right now. And their dipsy, I'd throw a body bait on there, try and get a walleye. Right now, most of the fish are coming off spoons, but it's good to have some body baits down there as well. In the spring, we run about 50-50, 50% body baits, 50% spoons. You really want to cover everything. But lately, spoon bite's been the hottest for us. So for types of spoons, we run almost all Pro Kings. I really love them. There's a little walleye spoons. We had great luck with them last year, and this year they don't seem to be hitting. For some reason, everything this year has been on a silverback spoon. Nothing copper has been working. So another spoon we run, it's called a C4 lure. So it's actually made in Canada. It's plastic, and you heat it up, and you can actually bend it and mold it how you want to to change the shape. So I like to have, just something different down there. So I got one here. That's what it looks like. It's all plastic. So it's just something different. And I like to use scent as well. That's something we've started using last year. I really got into the different scents and playing around with that and the super gels.
Well, what are your favorite scents, Ryan?
Well, I really like the Procure. So Procure, we use the super gel. Bloody tuna is my favorite. I don't know why. Like, there's no tuna in Lake Huron, but for some reason that's been the go-to. It's just a gel. It's got UV stuff in it, so you just put a bead of that on, or a little dab on the bottom of the spoon, and on the tougher days, you'll notice that. I believe that you're actually taking the hook in deeper a lot of times. So we do play around with it. Some days I find the scent doesn't really seem to work that well. So I won't put scent on everything. I'll just put it on a few usually and test it out. And the other downside to scent is you gotta, after the charter, we gotta scrub all that off, and with soap and water, rinse it really good, because if you got that old scent on, that can deter them too. So it's there's a downside to it, but we tried those spray on scents before. You put them in the water and it all just disappears. But that gel, it's worked pretty good for us. So I'd recommend giving that a try, especially on a tough day.
All right, here's the one from YouTube. This is Dan, and Dan wants to know, when the conditions get rough, what are you doing for boat control? Do you change directions, use bags, anything else?
So we don't actually run drift socks or bags at all. So we've got a Raymarine Autopilot EV100, which is pretty awesome. When waves get bad, we always like to troll with the waves. So if I know it's going to get rough, I'll go way the heck past my spot, and then turn the boat, and we'll set up lines and kind of do one big long drift all the way through and just go with the waves. It's more comfortable for us to set lines and catch fish, and for the clients, and also for seasickness, because we're always watching that. And some of the people we take, they've never been on a boat before, and you get out there, and oftentimes at this time of year, if the waves are under 2 or 3 feet, you're lucky. So it's we can get some pretty big waves going. But it works. The autopilot works great. If the winds get really, really bad, and the autopilot, you need to stay there and adjust it. That's usually when the waves are too bad and it's time to go in. If they get to 6 feet, you're if you go with the waves, you can handle huge waves. But you got to remember, you got to get back to and go through it to get home.
All right, we got one from Facebook. This is Les, and Les says he's a new guy leaving from Port Franks. How long of a run do I need to get into some good fishing?
So, well, I mean, you don't have to go real deep, but if you want good fishing this time of year, you do. So, I would, if I were you, I'd run, to the Pinery, which, for those of you who don't know, that's about half the distance between Port Franks and Grand Bend. Start there and troll towards Grand Bend, just to get in the deeper water, because we tend to keep heading north as the water, or as the season progresses. We get those big winds and it changes things. So I would go out to 80 feet, drop your lines and troll out, and like today we were fishing about 90 to 110. That was the best. But every day is different, and you really got to cover water and find them. And once you find them, just keep working the area. Do it 2 or 3 passes. If nothing, keep on going. I like to color the tracks every couple trips on my GPS, so I can track the fish and figure out which line I want to be on. And then that's really the way to do it. So go out. I'd recommend going out to those depths and dropping lines and giving it a try. But depending on what kind of boat you have, just make sure you pick your days, check the weather, and it's supposed to be pretty good for the next couple days.
All right, here's another new guy, Sully Fisher. He mostly fishes Georgian Bay. What would be the best piece of advice for somebody looking to try and fish on the southern side of Huron?
Well, if you wanted to go on a charter someday, that would be great. Local tackle shop, there are great options there as well. Steve at Lambeth Raw and Tackle, he's a good friend of mine, and if you call him, he'll give you good advice on where to go. Like the local tackle shops are the best places to find info because people are coming in there all the time, and they're sharing their fish stories, and he knows what's going on, what to do, and he typically has me pick out the Pro King order for the season. So a lot of the spoons that I run. The ones I want, he usually has in stock there. So that's a good place to get gear we're using. But yeah, the main piece of advice though really is, Fishhawk says if, you don't have a Fishhawk, you're basically going for a boat ride. So get a Fishhawk and also learn how to use it. I mean, it's simple to use, but you have to know kind of what to look for. And the best way to do that is keep a fishing log. I've been keeping a log since 2004. I've been logging, temperatures, finding, recording what depths, where we caught it, and everything else. And people think you want to you have hot fishing spots. That's what they think. It's all about the spot, like bass fishing structure and all that. And then that's part of it. But the main thing is look for the patterns. Like why are the fish there? Why is and is it because the bait's in? Is it because of the temperature? And what was the wind the day before? And once you learn that and you start looking more for patterns, you're going to do a lot better.
All right. Here's a good one here that you'll like. This is from Port Frank's Charters. And they said, good job explaining our fishery, Captain Ryan. The Fishhawk really is my most important tool out of Port Frank's. And you did some Fishhawk talking. And if you guys are just joining us today and you haven't seen some of the previous episodes, go back to last week. We had Trevor Sumption, my boss from Fishhawk, on the show, and we really got down to the nuts and bolts of how Fishhawk works. But Ryan, tell us about that you have on your boat as well. You're using those.
Sorry, Chris, you just cut out there on me. I just missed that last question.
Tell us you have how you use electronics to get more clients.
Sorry, Chris, I didn't catch that one.
Ryan, tell us a little bit more about some of the electronics you have on your boat and how you're using those to catch fish for your clients.
Sure. So I switched to all Raymarine. We had the Raymarine Autopilot, and I've been on different boats, and the different ones I've been on. They're sidestep, and they can't take the waves. You can't run with them on. So I've had so much good luck with the Raymarine stuff. So that's what we went with. So I really like the new Axiom units that came out a few years ago. They got the 3D real vision, side vision, down vision. So I'm really using all that together. I got two displays, so I'm in radar as well. So some clients say it looks like NASA on the boat with all the stuff, but really, you have to have all that for safety. And for catching fish. So, I mean, it's all important. You got to know what's down there. You got to know where the bait's at, and also to see where your downrigger lines are. And you see fish streaking up, and it's really neat. You can actually rewind on this one and a lot of the newer ones too. So you can rewind up to 20 minutes. So if you missed a fish and caught it, you can actually rewind to see where it came from or place a waypoint right on it. And all that. So, and the software is coming out, new software all the time. So you're constantly getting new features, and there's lots to learn. Technology is changing so fast, and we're trying to stay on top of it. And really, it's all about, giving your clients the best chance at catching a fish, and it's important. The customer service is obviously the most important, and then fishing second. But people that come out in a charter, they want to catch fish, and we work our butts off to do it. And my dad and I, we've done it so long, we know we don't even have to talk to each other. We kind of read each other's minds, and we work together so well, and we got our own routine down, and we're having a great time out there, and just loving it. so far every charter's been great. We've had great people, and you never know who you're going to get, but we've made a lot of friends through the charters.
Yeah, that's a really good point and something I wanted to bring up. I noticed on your website, your dad lists the Ritz-Carlton Customer Service Excellence Program as one of his accomplishments, and I think that's something really good to list.
Yeah, no, he's semi-retired optometrist, so he's had a lot of uh, his business is so much about customer service, so he's able to pass a lot of that down to me, and he's great. Like, usually in the morning, I'm just focused on the fishing. I'm focused on where I'm going to go and drive the boat and the lures and everything. And whereas he's with the customers, getting them all chatted up, and it's great because I can just get the lines out and explain what's going on, and that's great. And he tells a lot of jokes too, but his jokes are pretty bad.
They're dad jokes, right? All right. Rick on Facebook would like to know a little bit more about your program when you're specifically targeting walleyes.
Well, when we started getting the walleyes more consistently, like really, they were incidental catches. We weren't really targeting them. So then, of course, we get people that actually that's all they want is walleye. So there's different techniques we do, but not all that different. Mainly just kind of focusing higher up in the water. We want the warmer water. Sometimes they'll be, like in the really hot water. It doesn't make any sense. Other times they'll be close to where that thermocline is. But, a lot of lead core. Run lead core. Riggers don't seem to get much. Try more body baits. Depends on the time of year. Some guys will run worm harnesses, but, I don't like running them. You got to run slow. They're messy. The nice thing about Lake Huron, we don't catch a lot of junk fish. So, Erie, you get the sheephead and the silver bass. I think we've got 3 silver bass all season out here. But anyways, yeah, just focus on those planer board lines and really run those hard. And, walleye school pretty good. So if you get into 1 or 2, just keep working that area, as my buddy Steve always says, who I know is watching. He says never leave fish to find fish.
That's good advice. You talked a little bit about speed there and going slow, and a lot of guys like to fish fast. Here's a question from Facebook. Shelly wants to know, what's your favorite speed on the Fishhawk for kings?
Yeah, typically 2.7 is what we go for, but some days, depending on the current and what's going on, if we get a big fish on, we'll slow down for it. Sometimes the rod beside it will go off. So sometimes they're like that 1.9 range, but typically we're trying to stay 2.4 to 2.7. That's my favorite speed. And sometimes we'll go fast too. If we're kind of going back towards shore, we're just finishing up cleaning the fish, pulling the rods in, we'll speed up a bit, and sometimes we'll nail a big one that way. So really, it's just you got to watch those planer boards too, because if you turn one way, one side slow, one side's fast. If you hit them on the fast side, tells you to speed up a bit. And another trick we do with speed is we actually set the autopilot on a flat calm day to zigzag mode. So we're covering all that water and all those turns. And if we get a follower, it's a good chance they'll hit. We've actually put an underwater camera down there too, and we've had fish follow for probably 25 minutes sometimes before they actually hit. So it's really interesting on the stuff you can learn from having eyes below the water.
Yeah, that's super interesting. Ryan, we are kind of getting towards the end of the night here. Is there something that you wanted to talk about that we haven't talked about yet?
Yeah, I just want to say, have fun out there. If you're not having fun, there's no point in doing it. So have fun and also be safe. I actually pulled another boater, rescued them out of the water last year, and I don't want to do that again. So highly recommend wearing those inflatable PFDs. We put the Mustang ones on every client. Keeps everybody safe. They're so comfortable these days, so there's really no excuse for not wearing them. Things can happen fast out there, so it's just a good thing to have and just be safe, and that way you can just focus on the fishing, and you're all prepared for what could happen.
All right, I got your website up there right now, Ryan. But tell us about some places on social they can find you, and that's how I found you, was via Instagram. But tell people about your Instagram handle and where they can find you on Facebook and all those places.
Great. So Facebook, we're Grand Bend Fishing Charters. Instagram, Grand Bend Fishing Charters, and the best place is our website. If you're interested in booking, we've got all the information there, everything about the boat and about us. And also we post fishing reports. We try to post just about every trip. We like to, give people an idea of what the catch is like and what's been going on. And we have catch reports going back for a few years now too. So you can see how, the fishery's kind of changing and developing, and we'll see where it goes. I hope we get into more salmon. But the variety is awesome. Like, we've caught salmon, trout, walleye, brown trout, coho, Chinook, Atlantic, pink, all that stuff in the same trip. So it's pretty awesome to do that. And that's it.
Yeah, very cool mixed bag. You can find Captain Ryan Sharpe at grandbendfishingcharters.com. Just want to thank everybody for watching and listening this week, and we'll talk to you next time. And if you're out there, you're a charter captain or maybe just a very serious angler and thinking about doing some fishing and perhaps go on the show, you can look me up, check me out, and go ahead and send me an email at chris@graydenoutdoor.com, and we're always looking for new guests. So feel free to drop me a line, or else you can just message us on Instagram at fishhawkelectronics.com. For Ryan Sharpe, I'm Chris Larson. Thanks so much for watching tonight, and we'll see you next time.